You're tuned to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is our Veterans Voice Radio Show, and your host, Ralph Nathan Oko.
Hello, everybody. Boy, have we got a program for you today. The title of our program, Cindy, is The Fix-It Doctor.
Oh, there you go.
But I'm not going to tell you what he's going to fix. I'm going to have him tell you. We have on the phone all the way in Pennsylvania, Dr. Faust Ruggerio, a doctor of psychology, and he is the Fix-It Doctor. So, and by the way, he asked me to call him Faust, and I said, I hope you don't mind, but you're Dr. Faust. Out of respect, I was trained and brought up to respect professions. So, Dr. Faust, first of all, thank you so much for being with us today.
Ralph, it's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
I've been looking forward to it. So the audience, all of our friends out there, I think we planned this about maybe 2 months ago, scheduling, because Dr. Fix-It is very busy, and I'm trying to pretend that I'm busy. And we finally decided that December 8th, today, Saturday, you're going to hear Dr. Fix-It. But I'm going to have Dr. Faust tell you what he fixes and a little bit about himself. And then you're going to smile. And then you're not going to smile. And then at the end, we're going to make you smile again. So, Dr. Faust, if you don't mind, let's give our listeners. And by the way, Dr. Faust, this is a podcast that's broadcast by iHeartRadio internationally. So you are heard right now all over the world. And believe it or not, obviously the majority of our audience is universal within the United States. But out of the country, believe it or not, the first one and two most audience in a foreign country, number one, Japan. Hello, Japan.
Yes.
And number two, Canada. Mm-hmm. Hello, Canada. So, Dr. Faust, why don't you kind of let them feel and get to know you a little bit?
Well, thank you, Ralph.
Yeah,
my name is Faust Ruggerio. I'm a psychologist. I've been counseling for about 45 years now.
So you're 27.
Yeah, right about there. So most of what I do is individual, family, marriage, substance abuse. I was certified in addictions, but I spent a lot of time working with people who have trauma, who have been abused, veterans, a lot of veterans, first responders. So recently I wrote a book called The Fix Your PTSD Handbook, so we hopefully can get people the right information about what trauma does to you, how it develops into PTSD, and then how you can fix it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, is this your first book you've ever written?
This is my 7th book.
Wow.
And all on the same subject matter?
Different. It's a Fix Your Self-Empowerment series. So the first book was the Fix Your Self Handbook, but then we went into depression, anxiety, anger, addiction, internal language, and now we're doing PTSD.
Oh, wow.
I encourage you to think about another subject. My wife is not well, and I'm a full-time caregiver, and I have been quoted as saying, I think I would rather be a patient than a caregiver. And not enough credence and credit is given to all the caregivers throughout the world, taking care of their loved ones or even strangers. And so, if for whatever it's worth, kind of put it in the back burner that there's a lot to caregiving, and caregivers have certain psychological problems that you might be able to fix in a book or in person.
Well, they do. There's a lot of pressure on caregivers. The bottom line is your life is no longer yours.
Correct. I'm a prisoner.
You have to really schedule things. If you're fortunate, maybe you have someone you trust that comes in and spends some time with the person, and maybe you get out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But people will say it all the time. My life is no longer mine; it belongs to them, even though they may love that person.
Yeah,
but it's not the same anymore.
There's a point where you just say, "I need a break," and there's no me time.
Well, I took my me time before the show. I took my cigar and I sat outside my art gallery in Vero Beach, and for 45 minutes, I had my frozen coffee from Dunkin', and I had my cigar, and I had myself.
Yeah.
So that's my downtime when I can.
And that's very important, too. People always
Yes.
feel guilty that they do that, but no.
No, I need it so
Yeah,
I
you
can be
need
a
to
better
do that.
caregiver.
Yeah.
Because
You know,
and I'm not talking patient medically. I'm talking about patients where you need time to understand and handle situations. But let's go back to one of the things that you and I spoke about before the show last week is that I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors, a host from New York, Herb Oscar Anderson, that the friendliness, the camaraderie that a host should pursue with his listeners. And that's what you do with your patients in a different way, if I'm not mistaken. And he taught me that every so often, let them know that you're not sitting in a tuxedo and driven by a limousine, but you've suffered trauma in your life, and share it with them. So in 2016, I had as you and I said, it wasn't it was a bad car accident. And I had a lot of problems. And finally, an absolute wonderful doctor diagnosed me for something I never heard of before, traumatic brain injury. And you and I discussed the fact that PTSD is a label that it's not, this goes back to Roman days. They've had PTSD. They didn't have vehicles. Maybe they got run over by a horse. But the point is, PTSD or traumatic brain injury, or what boxers and football players suffer through, or individual trauma, physical, mental, financial, whatever, that you deal with. So my question is there a way we can relate all these things? They're not all the same. Every situation is different. Every patient is different. How do you diagnose? How do you kind of separate, divide up all these different causes that brought on the problems that a lot of us have? And what do you do about it? How do you handle it? How do you, as a doctor, as a psychologist?
Well, Ralph, what you're talking about here is what happens to the brain when it's traumatized, and people often look at that, and they'll look at car accidents, they'll look at football players, the athletes who have been had repeated trauma to their brain, and that physical trauma is one part of it, but the other part of it is the abuse people take, or the trauma the brain receives. For example, when a soldier is in war and they see horrible, despicable things, and they lose their friends, and they see things blow up in front of them, they don't understand that what's occurring is a traumatic injury to the brain. Structurally, things actually change. So when I treat those folks, and I'm going to go physical first. That's the other thing people don't do. They start trying to have the person talk about the incident. They're not ready. So we get all the physical things in order first. We get to the medical people. We make sure neurologically that they're sound enough to move forward. Then we start the process of recovery.
Do you find that majority of the time, I won't say percentages, that you are able to recognize the causes, and then you can work with the hopeful solutions, and then the ultimate, the recovery? If there is let me ask you, is there such a thing as full recovery ever from these things?
Yeah, there is. It doesn't mean that the person's going to forget it, or that when they think about it, it doesn't make them feel bad. However, what we're concerned about is that they can live a happy, healthy, productive life.
Right.
And yes, they can. That's how we're describing recovery. The brain is not going to forget that you're in the war and an IED goes off in front of you and you lose some of your friends.
Yeah.
You're going to see that. That's going to repeat itself. However, we want to reduce the emotional impact. We want to be able to get to the point where that memory doesn't continue to repeat itself and cause the person to isolate or go into acute anxiety or depression, suicide, those types of things. So we want the person to be happy, to be healthy, to be productive, even though that's on their life timeline, if you will.
Okay, let's go backwards. I walk into my house and the lamp doesn't get turned on. Well, is the electricity on? Yes. The switch doesn't work. Well, I check the bulb. Is the socket plugged in? In other words, I recognize that the lamp is not working. What's causing it? In other words, and this is where that's what you do. What you know the lamp's not working, and you're medically speaking, and you're going through the medical records to go into the psychological end of it as to, okay, here's what caused the lamp to go kaput. Here's what we need to diagnose. In other words, what all the different alternatives or possibilities, and then you narrow it down to, aha, here's maybe the problem. Is that pretty much a amateurish way of describing it?
Well, that's what we're hoping to do. You know, when people come into counseling, my first order of business is not to get to what's bothering them. You know, they'll report some of that. I want to establish a rapport with them. I want them to trust me.
Yeah.
I want them to feel good. I want them to want to be able to tell me what's going on. Then I reduce the barriers and the resistance, and then moving forward and starting to identify problem areas in their lives and what's causing some of the pain. Now they're more willing to go back there. But until we establish a safe place where they can come in and say, yeah, you know what, I feel safe here. I can get these personal details out and start putting them in order so that I can see how that affected my life and how I need to move forward.
Yeah, and without judgment and stuff is one of the big things.
Always.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a break in a couple of seconds. I just want to relate it in another way. Cindy and I are sitting in a studio that's soundproof. It's got reclining chairs, comfy chairs, whatever. And my job when I get in studio audience guests is to watch the guests. And I think that maybe that's what you might be doing. I'm curious. When they're sitting upright, or their hands are clenched, or they're tight, they're not at ease. And then my job is to ease them up, soften them up. And usually by the end of the show, they're reclining back, their leg is folded over the other, one knee over the other, and they're smiling and they're telling us things we never thought we'd hear. Is that pretty much what happens with you when you know you've achieved your goal or purpose?
Absolutely. People then feel comfortable. They feel safe. We'll laugh a little bit if we can. What I want them to leave any session with is, okay, I felt good about that. I got some things out. It's a little uncomfortable, but I know I can go back there and work on those things. I don't want them to leave and just say, gee, that was wonderful, because we probably didn't get anywhere then. I want them to be challenged a bit, but be willing to come back and say, you know what? I know I'm starting to get some confidence in myself. I know I can continue to do this, and little by little, I'm going to be able to work on this.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our Veterans Voice Radio. We'll be right back, everybody. We're speaking with Dr. Faust Ruggerio in Pennsylvania, and this is Saturday, August 8th. We'll be right back, everybody.
I'm Dr. Tim Ioannidis at Treasure Coast Dermatology. At Treasure Coast Dermatology, we believe in the prevention and early detection of skin cancer. We are medical doctors, and we focus on the medical aspects of dermatology. You don't need a sales pitch for Botox, collagen, or wrinkle creams. You need a doctor that cares about you and the health of your skin. We feel by not trying to do too much, we can do more for our patients.
Call toll-free 877-870-DERM. That's 877-870-3376.
Meet Henry Bach, patient of Florida Eye Institute.
After having the cataracts removed, it was a whole new world for me. The colors were brilliant. It was painless. You could almost say it's like being born all over again. When I come in here, it's like coming home. Everyone's so friendly and nice. It's just a wonderful experience.
Are you ready to experience truly exceptional patient care? Florida Eye Institute.
Hey, did you hear the latest about our Florida Highwomen?
No, what?
There's a Highwomen Art Gallery in Vero Beach.
Really? Where?
1872 Commerce Avenue.
Wow, when's it open?
7 days a week. Call 954-557-6226 for an appointment anytime.
No kidding?
Just call for your appointment, 954-557-6226, and then go to 1872 Commerce Avenue.
Wow, that's good news.
On our Veterans Voice Radio show with Ralph Nathan Oko.
And Dr. Faust Ruggerio in Pennsylvania. But you just heard a commercial, a man and a woman touting an art gallery in Vero Beach, right?
Yes.
I did.
Right. Well, the voice was that, the female voice was Susan Harris,
Yeah.
my best friend that we lost about 2.5 weeks ago. And yesterday on Facebook, something came up. Susan was one of the biggest-hearted, most wonderful, complex person to know. And it's rare where a man and a woman can have the best friendship. You know, man, woman's one thing, but man-woman without intimacy, but it's almost like family. And Susan and I talked every day, at least once a day, morning, night, whatever. And she was my mentor. I was older, but she was my mentor. And yesterday on Facebook, they announced a celebration of life.
Oh.
And I want to share it with you, and I
Yeah.
will let you know for the next 3 weeks to remind you. The celebration of life in loving memory of Susan Harris is on Monday, August 24th, from 5 to 8. That is a long 3 hours. And it is at the American Legion Post 40 in Fort Pierce. The address is 810 South US 1. If you didn't write it down, don't worry about it. You can call me at 954-557-6226, daylight hours, 7 days a week. Now, if it's an emergency and you need something, call me. As you all know, I got the VSO phone numbers and the all the 411, 911, and so on. And if you just want to, as some of you have done, and Dr. Faust, you'll be happy to hear this. I get people calling me up. It might be a little old lady, a little old man who are a veteran, or somebody who's just lonely, and they call and say, "Can I just talk to you?" And I say, "Sure." And I'll go outside someplace where it's private and talk to them. People are lonely out there.
Yeah, they are.
And Susan recognized that, and she was able to be a matchmaker, and she was able to help people in her own way. So on Monday, August 24th, 5 to 8, American Legion, that's 810 South US Highway 1. I will be there, and if whether you knew Susan or not, you probably knew her because she's been on the show several times every year.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, whether it was about Jetsons, whether it was about highwaymen, or whether it was about you and I as people. Okay, so Dr. Faust, let's go back. Where do most people come? Where do they know? Where do they find you? How do they find you?
Well, I've been around long enough, so locally they'll do that. But, when you put 7 books out and I've done, Ralph, I've done maybe 650, 660 interviews in the last 6 years.
And this is a
people know
conversation.
I'm out there. And I have a website, so then there's a contact link, so people will go to the website if they want some information, or they'll contact me and they'll have some questions, and I get back to them. If you're going to do what I do for a living, when you say you're going to get back to people, you get back to them.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so that's part of that trust, that rapport that that we're putting out there. So they'll do that. Most I like to do in the office. You get that personal touch, but we're in a day where a lot of counseling's being done online. So I might get someone from Florida or California or Arizona and says, "Hey, I'd like to do something with you." So obviously they're not flying in just to see me. So then we'll do something online. But if possible, I'd like to get them in the office.
Would you agree that probably, recognizing and treating and the recovery are almost secondary to the primary and the recognition factor? How many people are hesitant? Cindy and I were just talking about it. How many people, whether it's a traumatic injury or PTSD or whatever it may have caused, but they've got some trauma that they're having difficulty living with, they may or may not recognize it, but how many people out there take that extra step and say, "I need a fix"? Just like when your car doesn't operate, you go to the mechanic. Well, sometimes your body or mind don't operate properly, and you need to go to the mechanic, the body and or mind mechanic. Do you find that most people are open about it, or, as I found, they're very shy or reluctant or fearful and distrustful of opening up to strangers about their problems?
Well, it's kind of half and half on that, Ralph. Sometimes it's easier to open up to a stranger because
Yes.
you don't have the emotional part, the judgment, all that sort of thing that come with families and friends, and you're safe. It's nothing's going to go out of the office. And the other part is now I've got to go into a new environment, and I don't know what this is all about. So I've always encouraged people to just make the appointment and go there once. And if you get there and you leave there saying, okay, I think I can talk to this person, that's all you really need at that point. I don't think I've ever had anyone come in the office and then leave and say, I can't do this with you.
Whoa.
We take our time. We let them know they're important. I love the people I work with. I let them know that. We stay within the proper boundaries. But if they need a hug or something, sometimes that happens. It depends on the person. But we're very careful about that. But we're able to give them what they need to get it started. Once that happens, it's just like a friendship. I meet you, and if I say, gee, I can talk to this person. He's nice. He's easy to talk to. I can trust him. Then the relationship moves forward a little bit.
Yes.
That's really what we're doing in counseling.
Relationships.
And the other part of it is the person wants to know that if they're coming in, I have the information and the expertise to deal with them. If I get with veterans, what we see most, what I've seen most of the time is they'll come in and say, well, you really are not going to understand what I went through. And there's a lot to that, obviously. I wasn't overseas. I wasn't in a war. I didn't see that thing happen in front of me. The question is, do you want to open up and give it a try? And see where it's going to go. You're going to find out that I know a whole lot more. I've been doing this with veterans for 35 years.
Yeah.
So I probably, and they keep coming. So somewhere along the line, someone's thinking, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of times, veterans will talk to veterans. Well, what they'll say, I'll ask them, okay, are you getting better? And they'll say, no, but I know I can trust that person. They identify with me. I say, okay, so for the rest of your life, do you want to continue to do that? Or do you want to enter a situation where you can still have those folks, all those good friends that support you, but now someone that's going to move you past the trauma,
get
you into a program that's going to work? Do you want to? That's what you want to keep all those people that you can identify with. That's great. They're absolutely you want those people in your life. However, you also want to be able to move forward in your life and rise above those circumstances. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because how long is it positive to keep ruminating on that, even with your buddies, kind of thing?
It doesn't fix it.
Yeah, it doesn't fix it.
And that's what they'll say when they come in. They'll say, that's important to me. They're the only ones that are going to understand me. Right. And I never challenge that. I say, well, that's absolutely accurate. Of course it is.
Yeah, right.
But then again, are you willing to put a different component, an additional component in your life?
Yeah.
Keep those folks. Go sit in the bar with them if that's what you want to do. Go fishing with them. Go vacation. Do whatever you want to do. But in the meantime, do you want to include a component that's going to help you start feeling better about that? Because what's going to happen? Well, here's what they tell me. Yeah, I feel better. I'm more productive. My family life's better. And even those veterans I used to talk to, the conversation's changing.
Okay, there you bingo.
So
now
not only are they feeling better, because one of the fears is, and they'll say it later in the counseling. I was afraid that growing in my own program, I was going to kind of outgrow my friends, and now I wasn't going to be able to sit with those people. And I said, no. Part of what we'll do is to make sure you can keep those relationships. Yeah. We're not going to challenge those. We want you to keep those. We just want to add an additional component. That's all.
Okay. We're going. We need to take the halftime, and iHeart just cuts us off. But when we come back, I want to tie into what you just said, and that is for your patients. At what point, if you do, bringing in their loved ones, whether friends or relatives. So we'll be right back, everybody. This is our Veterans Voice Radio. We're speaking to the Fix-It Doctor in Pennsylvania, Dr. Faust Ruggerio. We'll be right back.
You're the